So NoBull are dipping into their pockets to support the athletes at the games. Or are they dipping into your pockets? Welcome back to the channel. So I'm sure we've heard that now you can buy a NoBull Games jersey of your favorite athlete and the athletes will be getting $20 from every sale. So it sounds like a great way to support the athletes. But is it the best way to support your favorite athlete? Can you actually support your favorite athlete? And how much is this costing NoBull? And how much is it costing you? So let me just start by saying, if you want to buy a NoBull shirt because you just love NoBull and also this way that athlete gets something, great. But if you're buying this because you want to support the athlete, is there a better way? Now, obviously, NoBull is a company first, so it's understandable that they need to make money. They are the title sponsor of the games. That is going to cost them money. So we can't criticize NoBull for trying to make money. However, we might not be happy with everything around this jersey issue. It's being marketed as this incredible initiative to help support athletes because, of course, they couldn't sell you games jerseys with athletes' names on and not give something back to the athletes, could they? Well, actually, that's what they did last year, and the community was pretty critical. Now, in his interview with Lauren Khalil on the Morning Chalk Up Bottom Line, Todd Melanie, the chief marketing officer of NoBull, he said it was due to supply chain issues that they didn't have this initiative in place last year. Now, obviously, I don't run a t-shirt company, but it seems a bit strange because supply chain issues, they still had the shirts, they still sold the shirts. So why couldn't they have given something to the athletes after the fact, even if it was just $5 a shirt? But clearly, they listened to the community because this year they are giving back to the athletes. Only now that shirt is going to cost you about $27 more than last year. So it's $65 or £60 here in the UK. So they have actually found a way to make more money while still giving this $20 to the athletes. Now, we could argue, well, that's just inflation, costs are going up anyway, but they are also in a position to do a direct comparison with how many shirts they sold last year to how many they sell this year. Now, could this incentive of, oh, if I buy the shirt, I'm also helping out my athlete, actually mean people that didn't buy shirts last year buy them this year because they think, well, this way I'm helping out the athletes. And therefore, NoBull can look good while taking your money and giving it to the athletes. And then when we look at the list of athletes that you can currently buy jerseys of, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because obviously you've got the NoBull athletes. That makes perfect sense. But then it comes down to a popularity contest among those that have been there some time and the new up-and-coming athletes. So it's understandable that we would see names like Pat Vellner, Brent Fikowski, Noah Olsen. But one name that's missing off the list is BKG. And that's interesting because the other three are traveling from Canada or the US, whereas BKG probably needs the money more for going to the games as he's going to have to travel from Iceland. So if it's all about supporting and helping the athletes, it's interesting that someone like BKG hasn't been included. In fact, when we look at the list, the only athlete coming from outside of the Americas is Laura Horvath. Now, the great Mike Halpin also pointed out something interesting about the athletes selected, that all of these athletes already have sponsorships with other clothing or shoe brands. So instead of Pat inspiring someone to go out and buy Tyr, for example, well, maybe now they're going to buy NoBull to help Pat. So is this a way NoBull has found just to take another little slice of the pie that could have been somebody else's? Now, of course, I'm not against supporting the athletes, buying t-shirts, but the question is, if I want to support an athlete by buying a t-shirt, is there a better way to do it? I mean, obviously, the best way to support them would maybe just be to hand them the cash, but if I still want to get something in return, what are my options? Well, for example, Wodable are selling t-shirts to support the games athletes traveling from the UK. So if I wanted to support someone like Lucy Campbell, I could go to Wodable and buy her shirt. Now, I reached out to Wodable to ask how much would she get in return. And obviously, it depends slightly on the item that you're buying, but they told me that generally they get 50% of the cost. And when you take into consideration the fact that Wodable have to pay the transaction fees, it looks like the athletes are actually doing better off this deal than Wodable. And that shirt is actually only going to cost you $28.99. So you buy that shirt, yes, you're supporting Lucy Campbell, you're also supporting Wodable, that are comparatively a much smaller UK-based company. And you know that we love to support our smaller local people, right? For example, it's great to see Lucy Campbell featured on Talking Elite Fitness, but her absence has been noted on something like Chalking Fitness, that is our UK-based podcast. Now let's jump over to the US for another fan favourite, that of Colton Mertens. Now I've been a massive Colton fan for a long time, and that's not just because I'm another athlete who is, let's say, vertically challenged. So I could go to Vindicate and pre-order a Colton Mertens Games shirt, and he will get 50% of the profits from that sale. And again, Vindicate is basically a one-man show. It's just being run by Travis. So I actually reached out to Travis to talk about the shirt, and there's an interesting backstory there. He told me that he grew up in Iowa, so he's been a big fan of Colton for a long time as well. And when he heard Savan talking about him on the podcast, he just mocked together a design. He tagged Colton in it, and Colton just said, go for it. And Colton didn't ask for anything in return. But obviously Travis felt he definitely deserved something, and that's why he's getting 50% of the profits. So Travis just sounds like somebody who wants to use what he's got available to do something to help an athlete that he admires. And yes, of course, he's going to get something in return on the back end, but it's really nothing in comparison to what NoBull are making. And maybe we won't mention that NoBull just recently sent a cease and desist order to Vindicate because of the No Rep Hiller t-shirt that I guess is now a limited edition collector's item. But basically, if I'm doing the maths correctly, I could buy a Colton shirt and a Lucy Campbell shirt, support both of these athletes, both of the companies that are producing the clothing, and still pay less than it would cost me to buy one NoBull Games jersey. And as I said at the start, if you want to buy NoBull because you're just a big NoBull fan and you love it, then yes, it's definitely better that the athletes are getting something than nothing. But people are going to feel a certain way about the markup. But if your desire is just to support the athletes in the best way you can, maybe this isn't the best option for you. So is this a step in the right direction? Could this system be improved? Is the, dare I say, ridiculous price of a Games jersey just another consequence of the professionalization of CrossFit? And once again, does it just pay to be the popular athlete? I actually had a video on this earlier. So what do you think? Is this a great thing for the athletes? Is this just a cash grab from NoBull? Obviously, every little helps to pay the way for the athletes, but the question is this the best way? Well, you tell me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a future video.